Hello, my name is Isaac Garcia. Would you believe me if I told you that we can communicate not by talking through words, but by the micro expressions in our face, through our body posture, sitting up, whether your hands are crossed? That's communicating through body language, communicating through nonverbal communication. That's what I'll be talking to you today about. In an article written by Keith Webb, he stated a quote from Peter Drucker saying, "The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said." The reason why he states that is because 90% of communication isn't what's being spoken, but the words being spoken by your body, whether you're sending off friend or foe signals. So you may be wondering, why is this important to me? Why is understanding nonverbal cues so beneficial to me? Well, understanding nonverbal communication, it not only helps you in the workplace, but also in your day-to-day life, with your relationships, talking to your spouse, talking to your friends, things like that. Today I'll be going over nonverbal communication in a couple different groups, 3 settings to be specific: business, social, and intimate. So first, let's jump into the most important part. It's kind of the most boring, but it's the one that'll benefit you the most, I promise. Business. So what do you think of when you think of business? You think of sitting down with your bosses, you think of employers, but what's the key aspect you want to focus on? Professional settings. In a professional setting, you sit down with your interviewer, and let's say, for example, I'm like this. I'm slouched over. It's a low power pose. I can read that by the body positioning. Someone who's going to sit in an interview with their hands crossed versus someone who's going to sit displayed out, wanting to know what you're going to say because they have the confidence to be aware of that. Another thing to be aware of is maintaining eye contact with those speaking to you. Not only does it show respect, but it shows that you're genuinely interested. However, in some cultures, eye contact is actually disrespectful, so be aware of that. Know the culture in which you're presenting or which you're interviewing in. China would be an example of that, to where eye contact is disrespectful. That's why people look down when speaking to others that they don't know. So one thing to focus on is the eye contact, like I was talking about. So with eye contact, what's the one thing people do? If I tell you to maintain eye contact, some people will sit there with their eye contact and they will try to maintain focus as much as they can. But what's the one thing they forget? They forget to blink. They don't realize that while they're focusing on one thing, they're actually not hearing the words that the other people are saying. You're listening to receive information. You're not just listening to just hear the words, but you want to listen with a purpose. Our next topic we'll be discussing is in a social setting, is how understanding nonverbal cues can help you out. So when you're talking to other people in public, one thing you can do that me and you can do right now, we can go out to a bar, look at someone's foot positioning, look and see how they're facing. So let's say my feet are like this. They're facing directly towards you. Well, if my feet are facing directly towards you, this is going to be considered a closed conversation. It's not allowing others to be talking with us. However, if we were to be standing side to side like this, picture a third person coming in from this ways. It's a lot more welcoming whenever you're approaching people from the side versus when you're approaching someone head on, because then it's almost as if you're interrupting a conversation. That was one thing I learned in the book, The Like Switch. It was of an FBI agent who would try to acquire people to like them through persuasion, and he would use nonverbal cues to do such. Certain facial cues will give off faux signals. For example, if I'm standing like this and I'm wondering why no one's talking to me, these little indents in my head right here, they're telling people don't talk to me. They're telling people I don't want to see you. It's, as some people will call it, resting face. It's showing that you're not welcoming others in. So if you're wondering why no one's talking to you, that slight nonverbal cue could be a reason why. And from here, we'll transition into our next topic. The topic that we'll talk about next is intimate distance. So when you think of intimate distance, what's the one thing that everyone has? Everyone has that bubble around us. that if someone gets too close, it's off-putting. We're going to want to move back. We don't want to be near them in that situation. So intimate distance is knowing and reading someone else's body cues to understand whether or not they're comfortable with your presence around them. So the majority of people, as studies show, is 0 to 18 inches around you. That's how close people's intimate distance setting bubbles are. Versus if you're 5 feet away, I'm going to be a lot more comfortable talking to you, and you're going to be a lot more open to receiving messages. However, if we're closer and we've known each other for a significant amount of time, if I'm sitting all the way up here in front of you, you'll be fine with me being here because you know who I am. You're comfortable with me. You don't have that faux signal that I'm off-putting, that I'm scaring you, that I'm trying to push you away in some kind of sense. One key thing to look out for is others' tone of voice. So let's say I'm talking like this and I can't really tell if I want to talk to you, but you're not picking that up. You still think everything's fine in this conversation, but you're not realizing that my tone of voice when I'm talking like this, it's making me really shy. You're not understanding that I'm shy. If I'm coming at you and I'm talking like this and I'm trying to tell you about this great time I had the other day, this is too much. The other person is here, they're kind of closed up, they're hunching over, they're really not sure what they're doing. You have to be able to understand that nonverbal cue that, hey, maybe I should dial it back a bit. Maybe this person isn't on the same level as where I'm at. According to Herta Murphy and Herbert Hildebrandt, they noted in their book Effective Business Communications that sometimes nonverbal messages contradict the verbal, and often they express true feelings more accurately than spoken or written language. The reason why is, like I was saying in the beginning of the speech, is that 90% of communication is through nonverbal. Whether I'm sitting like this, whether I'm talking to you like this, or whether or not you're talking to me and I'm just looking off in the distance, not even paying attention to what you're saying. It's things like that. So you can see, after taking a glimpse into these 3 topics of nonverbal communication, of why things like that are so important. So wrapping it all up, we've gone over 3 different settings. We've gone over nonverbal setting in business, in a social setting, and even in an intimate setting. I hope you can take this information from this speech and learn from it. Be informed of this the next time you're out in public. Even if you forget everything that I just said, at least remember, when it comes to nonverbal communication, it's what isn't being said that speaks the loudest. Thank you.